what is a function? A function is a relation that pairs each input with exactly one output. So the key part of this definition here is each input exactly one output. Okay? So that brings us to the question, okay, well, what's a relation then? A relation is a set of ordered pairs, can be listed as ordered pairs, could be a table of values, could be a mapping diagram, could be a graph. So a relation just pairs inputs with outputs. Okay, so a lot of times in algebra you'll see the variable x and y. So x would be our input, y would be our output. Okay, let's look at an example here. Okay, so we want to determine whether each relation is a function. So to do this, we need to think back to our definition. Each input has exactly one output. Okay, so we said input is our x coordinate or our x variable, and output is our y coordinate or our y variable. So according to our definition, each input or each x value can only have exactly one y value. So let's look at our relations here. For A, we have a list of ordered pairs. So we see -2, 2, -1, 1, 0, 2, 1, 0, and 2, 0. One thing we want to look at here is our x values. Okay, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. If all of those are different, then we have a relation, or we have a function. Because if all of those inputs are different, then that means the output cannot be the same, right? So if we have -2, 2, -1, 2, 0, 2, 1, 0, and 2, 0. If you notice a couple of those have the same output, that's okay. The output can be the same. The y value can be the same. We just can't have we can't have the same x value that gives us two different y values. So for this one, we would say, yes, this is a function. Okay, so now let's look at B. We have a list of ordered pairs again. Now let's look at our x values. 4, 8, 6, 4, and 5. So if you notice here, we have 4 and 4. We have an x value of a 4 that's listed twice, so that's a red flag. The first coordinate gives us a y value of a 0. The second gives us a y value of a 3. So that is having the same input with two different outputs. That cannot happen. So we would say, no, that is not a function. All right, so now we have a table. So once again, we can look at our x values here at the top, -2, -1, 0, 0, 1, and 2. So once again, we have an x coordinate that is repeating here with a 0, and one input of a 0 gives us a 5, the other gives us a 6, so we would say, no, that is not a function, because the input 0 has two different outputs. And our last relation is a mapping diagram. So we read this as -5, 3, 4, 17, and 12, 17. So we would say, yes, this is a function, because we have three different inputs, and they have their own output, where we don't have an input that has multiple outputs. So one way to think about mapping diagrams is these arrows here. So these two arrows they come together, right? Almost like they're closed. So if we have closed, and I call this a closed mouth, right? Think about like a mouth, like almost like an alligator or something like that. Closed mouth, we would say, yes, that is a function. Open mouth, we would say, no, that is not a function. Okay, so open mouth, maybe we have -5, 3 and -5, 17, right? Notice in that case, we have -5 having multiple outputs, so that would not be a function. Okay, all right. Another way that we can determine if a relation is a function is if it's represented by a graph. And in this case, we use what's called the vertical line test. So the vertical line test is we just take a vertical line. So a lot of times we use a pencil or pen, whatever writing utensil we have. And basically you just take it across the graph like this. And if you have any points that are on top of each other or vertically aligned, then it's not a function. Because what would that mean? That would mean they have the same x value, right? Okay, so on our first graph over here, if I have, let's see if I can make a vertical line. All right, so if I make this vertical line, and let's see if I can move it across my graph, right? So I get to here, there's only 1 point there, 1 point, 1 point, oh, looky there, right? We have 2 points that are on that vertical line. So in this case, we would say this is not a function. okay? Because in this case, we would have 8, 2, and we would have 8, 10, right? So we have an x value of an 8 that has two different outputs, so it's not a function. All right, and now we can take our vertical line here, and if we were to move it across our graph, notice that we never have 2 points that are vertically aligned, so we would say, yes, this is a function. All right? And that's how you determine if a relation is a function.